Hi, how's it going everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So one of the most common questions that you might have as an investor is how do you find good companies that consistently produce good results for you to invest in? With more than 150 companies on the New Zealand market and many thousands of companies on the US market, how do you find a winning company that you can invest in? With so many companies out there, it's simply not feasible to go through each individual companies and look through their balance sheets and their cash flow statements to find out which company is actually producing good results. So to solve this problem, we're going to be using these free online tools to help us screen for companies that consistently produce great results. I'm going to be going over 2 online tools that you can use to screen for the New Zealand market, and one extremely powerful tool that you can use to screen for companies on the US market. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. The first free stock screening website that we're going to be looking at is our good old friend at Yahoo Finance. So I have already been using Yahoo Finance for quite a long time, but a lot of people don't actually know that Yahoo Finance has a stock screener function in it as well. Now you want to go to the main Yahoo Finance site, finance.yahoo.com, and not the New Zealand localized version, because for whatever reason the New Zealand site does not have screeners. So we want to go to the screeners tab, and then we want to create a new screener. So when we create a new screener, its default region would be the United States, and we can remove that and manually add in New Zealand. And then the Yahoo Finance screener will quickly populate with an estimated number of companies. To add another filter, we simply click on Add Another Filter. We can search through the filters to find the specific criteria of these companies that we are looking for. So a couple of common things that I would look for is the PE ratio. So I would look for the price to earnings ratio, and I would want a price to earning ratio of above 0, because that means that the company is at least making profit. The second filter that I would add is the market cap of a company. So we can search for market cap, and here I want a market cap of at least 200 million. 200 million. Okay, so I don't really want to be investing in very small companies because they'll be more susceptible to economic changes. The next filter that I will look for is return on equity. So I will search for return on equity. And for return on equity, I'll be looking for companies that has at least 20% return on equity. So I would add 20 here. The next filter that I'll be looking for is the current ratio. So current ratio just means the short-term assets of a company divided by its liability. So for current ratio, you want a current ratio that is greater than 1. So with all these filters being put on, there's an estimated 7 stocks or companies in New Zealand that fits those criteria. And these are Fisher & Paykel Healthcare, A2 Milk, Spark, JP Morgan, Briscoe, the New Zealand Stock Exchange Company, and Hallenstein Glassons. So these are the 7 different companies or stocks that fit those criteria, and then you can dive further deeply into each particular stock to see if they actually fit all of your criteria. For example, you can look at their charts as well to see how they have performed in the past few years. The second stock screener website that we can use for the New Zealand market is TradingView.com. So a lot of people have already been using TradingView as one of the main websites where you can see stock charts. But it also has a very powerful stock screener tool in here as well. So if we go to the screener tab, we can bring up a list of the stocks that we want to screen. And in the markets tab, we can choose the New Zealand market. So here I want to choose the New Zealand market, and I've already set up some basic filters, but we can reset the filters and set up a whole new set of filters ourselves again. I'm going to be looking at the PE ratio. So I have the price to earnings ratio, and I want it to be above 0. Cool, so I have my first filter here. Secondly, same thing, I want to be able to look at the market cap. So market cap, I want the minimum market cap to be at least 200 million. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is the same things. It's going to be return on equity. So return on equity, I want to be above 20%. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is the current ratio. Current ratio, I want the current ratio to be above 1. And by applying all these filters, the TradingView stock screener gives me a total of 5 results. And you'll see it'll be pretty much the same as the results that we got in the Yahoo Finance website. So we have Fisher & Paykel, Healthcare, we have our A2 Milk, we have our Spark, and we have our Briscoe and our Hellenstein Group. The only ones that were different were the JP Morgan small limited stocks and the actual company stock for the New Zealand Stock Exchange. So the TradingView website basically filters for the main bigger companies. The main difference if you want to use TradingView to look at the stock chart for the New Zealand companies, you actually need to sign up to a paid account to do that, unlike Yahoo Finance. The final free stock screener website that we're going to be looking at is called Fenders. Now, Fenders is primarily used for screening stocks in the US market. And you can screen it in terms of fundamentals of a particular company. And you can also screen stocks based on its technical chart patterns. So if we go to the screener, and in the stock screener for Fenders, there's tons and tons of options that you can choose from. So if I select all for all the different options for the stock screener, there's plenty of different options that you can look for. Now, personally, if I were to screen for a particular stock or company for the US market, here I would start with market cap. And for the US market, I want it to be a little bit bigger than the New Zealand market. So I want at least 300 million in market cap for the US company. PE ratio, I would want a PE ratio of above 0, which means that the company is profitable. And for a PE, I also want it to be above 0. Now in Fenders, you can also filter by the projected earnings per share growth. So for the earnings per share growth, over the past 5 years, I want it to be positive, which means that the company is showing consistent growth, at least over the past 5 years. So earning per share growth for the next 5 years, I want to be at a reasonable amount. So I want it to be probably over 10%. So that just means that the earnings is growing by 10% year by year. Sales growth for the past 5 years, I also want it to be positive, which is above zero, which shows that the company shows a consistent growth in the sales that it's making. And the next thing that I want to look at is return on equity. So same thing, return on equity, I want it to be a relatively profitable company. So I want the return in equity to be at least over 20%. The next thing that I'll be looking at is the current ratio. So same thing, we don't actually want a company that has tons and tons of debt. So we want a current ratio of above 1. So right now we are left with a total of 95 companies, starting from the thousands of US companies, and we've narrowed it down to 95. Now, you can sort these companies using several different statistical categories, and one of the main things that I would look at is sorting them by market cap. So if you sort them by market cap, you can see some of your typical companies that has been doing well over the past couple of years. So you have your Microsoft, your Apple, your Facebook, your electronic payment systems such as Visa, MasterCard, and then you have your semiconductors such as Nvidia, and some consumer brands such as Nike. And then if I was interested in those particular companies, I can go into their stock chart and have a look at how well the stocks are doing. And what Fenders does automatically is they will draw trend lines automatically for you so that you can have a rough idea of how the stock is doing within the last 6 months or so. Not only that, Fenders, if you scroll down in Fenders, it'll show you how some of the financial advisor, what the financial advisors think about the price of the particular stock. And if you scroll down even further, you can see a lot of the recent related news to the particular company. If you're doing research on the companies in the US market, definitely give Fenders a go, because Fenders is an extremely powerful website, and it's also free as well. Now, they do have the memberships, but you can do the stock screeners completely free on a free account. I hope these tools have helped you out in finding some good companies, and I will see you in the next video.